My name is Chris Hawk, and I reside in Springfield, Missouri. I'd been thinking about putting out some videos about my journey with Jesus for a long time, and I prayed about it, and I think tonight is going to be my first one I'm recording. It's a little strange to sit in front of your computer and talk to no one, but I know that these words are going to be heard by some of my friends, and they're going to be put out on the internet, so I'm a little bit nervous. Just bear with me. I just This first video I wanted to put out is just to show people who maybe don't know me in person, maybe we're just Facebook friends, or I maybe haven't talked to you for a long time. I'm originally from Peoria, Illinois. I've been in Springfield for about a year now, so I don't get to see a lot of my friends or family back home. And I wanted to let people know that you can be a real person, a normal guy, or as normal as as I am, and have a relationship with God. And you don't have to be a Ned Flanders or some religious weirdo that lives in a very unreal way. I'm a normal guy, and I have a very, very close relationship with Jesus. And a lot of people think that because I'm very involved with my church, or that I have this deep knowledge of the Bible, or I've had these crazy, gnarly things happen in my life, that maybe I'd grown up in church or that I'd been to Bible school. Both are farther from the truth than you can even imagine. Um, I'd like to share with you the story of how I got saved, how I began this relationship with Jesus. It'll take me back to September 2008. Leading up to that, I'll just give you just a brief background of my life, and I want to save the rest of it for some other messages I want to share with you. But I grew up in most of my life in Central Illinois. In my background, I had a pretty abusive childhood. Um, was abandoned by my biological father. Um, this, a stepfather was in my life. He was very abusive. So I've experienced some pretty heavy things: sexual abuse, physical abuse, emotional abuse. A lot of those things were normal in my upbringing. Um, when I was about 11 or 12 years old, I got to stay up late one night and watch music videos on TV. This was long before the days of cable. And I saw a video by a band that's still one of my favorites called The Clash. I think some of you have heard of them. But I saw a video by The Clash for the song London Calling. And I knew that there was something out there bigger than what I was experiencing in Central Illinois in the early 1980s, because these guys looked like guys from the 50s. They had slick clothing and pompadours, but their music was just something that completely blew me away. So over the next few years, as I began to develop my own interest and taste, I was drawn towards skateboarding and towards punk music. Um, and that was something that I was so passionate about. It was the first thing that I fell in love with, was skateboarding and punk rock. So I grew up in the punk scene and met and married my high school sweetheart, and we have two children together. As you go through life, um, it's really odd now that I look back at it, for somebody who hated police and was a punk rocker and a skateboarder to end up being a police officer. I did that job for approximately 15 years, and I spent the last 10 years working in Peoria as a homicide detective. So I've seen some pretty crazy stuff. So that brings me to where I really like to focus on, is that um, my wife and I had a lot of problems, and we split up and started a process of getting a divorce. And I, at the time, was really heavily involved in the rockabilly, hot rod subculture and scene. And I'm heavily tattooed, and I love music from the 40s and 50s. And I was working this job, making a lot of money, and I was very good at it. I had a lot of name recognition for some of the cases I handled. I was writing for Hot Rod, Hometown Hot Rod magazine. I had a 1962 Ford Galaxy. I had a 1964 Cadillac Coupe de Ville. and I was building a 1934 Ford pickup truck. So I had all of these worldly things that I just loved, absolutely loved. I thought that was life was about. I worked hard. I took good care of my kids. Um, I had these hot rods. I had all these tattoos. I mean, I thought I was really living the life. But there's just something, this emptiness inside of me that I couldn't explain. And I made a lot of poor choices when I was married. I was unfaithful to my wife, and I justified everything that I did, um, just for my own selfish satisfaction. And it got to the point that our marriage wasn't working. It was a mutual kind of a split. And I obviously did the first thing that most guys do when they go through a divorce. It's like, I'm going to go out and I'm going to drink and I'm going to hook up with as many girls as I can. And, I was dating this girl who was like a pinup model, and thought I had all these great things. But living on having my own house now and being away from my kids, it really started to kind of chip away some of these things. Um, the reality of going through a divorce finally hit home, where you don't have any money and you're paying lawyer fees and you're not seeing your kids every day. And plus, I had this crazy job at the police department, working homicide cases. And the magazine that I was writing for kind of went out of business, and I broke up with the pinup girl I was dating, and all these things just started to fall apart. And over the next few months, I just became very, very depressed. Uh, I couldn't sleep. I didn't eat much. The only way that I could sleep was by drinking lots of whiskey. So that's what I would do. It was like this cycle where I would work from 4 p.m. to midnight or later, and then I would come home and I would listen to music and I would chug whiskey till I passed out, and then I would wake up the next day and feeling really crappy and just doing it all over and over again. When I saw how much pain that these choices that I had chosen for myself and my family, I saw the way they were affecting my kids, and I'm like, what kind of a dad are you? I never thought that I would visit these things upon my own children. Um, that I said I would never leave them, I would never be divorced, I wouldn't, be a drunk, and I was all those things that I said I would never be. And I just was so depressed and so down, and I just started to get this feeling that maybe my kids would be better off if I wasn't even in the picture. Um, I had a pretty large life insurance policy. If I had died or was killed in the line of duty, they would have been very well taken care of financially. And I began to just think that maybe that was the way. And I began to take a lot of risk on the job and put myself on purpose into a lot of dangerous situations, and I always came out fine. Well, working in the homicide unit, you see everything: drug overdoses, people hit by cars, shootings, stabbings, industrial accidents, and of course a lot of suicides. Um, I've handled hundreds and hundreds of cases of suicide over the years, and I've seen just about every way a person can think of to take their own life. And it was something I began to think about very, very heavily. Um, I just couldn't get this thought out of my head and out of my heart. And I started thinking about how I would do it, if I would hang myself or take an overdose of pills or shoot myself. And over, I'd say about 2 to 3 months, it came to the point that I'm going to do this. This life is too painful. I've caused too many problems. I should just check out. I should be done. And one night in September 2008, I was severely depressed. I hadn't slept in like 3 or 4 days, and I'd been going to work and coming home and drinking a lot. And I got off of work late because there had been a shooting case that I had helped investigate. And I got home, it was like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I didn't have any money. This is what I had for food in the house. I had dry cereal, I had water, and I had whiskey. The life of a single bachelor. Woo! And I was too proud to ask anybody for help. I had 12 cents to my name. So I just came home and started listening to music, and I was chugging a bottle of Jameson Irish whiskey, and I got super super wasted, and I was like, I'm just gonna kill myself. So I got my gun out of my lockbox and loaded it. And I remember I was in my bedroom thinking to myself, if I shoot myself, nobody's gonna find me. I'm off work the next couple days. I don't have any visitation with my kids planned. Um, who's gonna find me? I'll probably lay here till I miss, lay here dead till I miss my shift at the police department. And I was just like, nobody loves me, nobody cares about me. There's no other way. I'm just going to do this. And so I had the bottle of whiskey in my left hand, and I took the gun in my right hand, and I put it to the side of my head, like right here. And I was like, well, I've seen people shoot themselves in the head and live and be horribly crippled and disfigured. And if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it right. So I took the gun and I put it into my mouth. And I just was like, I put my finger on the trigger and I started to pull the slack out of the trigger. And I got it just to the point to where the firing pin would engage. And I just stopped. And I couldn't do it. I was afraid. And I just fell to my knees and I just started just crying uncontrollably. And I don't know how I consciously said this or why I even thought this, but I just was on my hands and knees crying, holding a bottle of whiskey and a handgun, and I said, Jesus, if you're real, I need you now. And no sooner than those words came out of my mouth, I can't describe it. I don't possess the language or the words to describe the feeling that overtook me. It was the greatest feeling of warmth and peace that I'd ever experienced. It felt like I had been carrying a, a backpack filled with cinder blocks on my back and shoulders for years, suddenly just gone, just taken away. And for the first time, I recognized that God was real and He spoke to me. And He said, I love you. I'm going to take care of you. Everything is going to be okay. Put your gun away, put the whiskey away, and get some sleep. So I did. I listened and I went to bed. And that was the first night that I had slept a full 7 or 8 hours in years. And when I woke up the next morning, I knew that something was different, and I thought that maybe I had dreamt what had happened, but I just felt so different inside, in my heart. So I checked the freezer, and almost all the whiskey was gone, and I checked, and my gun was locked up, and I was just like, man, I'm so hungover, I don't even know what to do now. And I just had this overwhelming urge to read a Bible. So I went out to my garage into storage, and I had a Bible that I had from when I was a little kid. And I opened it up and I started reading it, and it was a King James version with proper King's English. And I was like, I don't understand any of this. This makes no sense to me. I need to read the Bible. So I drove out to Borders bookstore in Peoria, Illinois, and I bought this Bible that I still have. It was $6. And I just took it home and I just started reading. I just opened up the New Testament randomly and started reading it. And it was like the words just were jumping off the page. And I just couldn't get enough. I just wanted to learn more about Jesus and who He was and what had happened to me. And being that, I was this big tough guy, policeman, it was a very big step. I knew I needed to get some counseling, get some help. So I did. I signed up and I went and I started to kind of talk out my problems and figure out what had happened. And I started going to church, which was so scary. I'd heard a lot of people talk about Northwoods Church in Peoria, Illinois, and it's a big place. I mean, it's a mega church, and I'd heard a lot of good things about it. So I went and I slipped in the side door and I sat in the back and I hurried up and got out because I didn't want anybody to see me there. And I started going week after week after week. and I would sit in the back and I would just cry. I would just cry my eyes out. It was like years of pain and anger and loneliness were just like leaving me. And I started taking my kids to church with me, and I found it to be the family that I never had, and I just, that's where I really got roots. I put roots down in my faith and really understood who Jesus was, and you could have this new life, and it was so awesome. And I share this story, and still it's hard to talk about sometimes when I would go out, because I was involved in skateboard ministry for a long time. I would go out and share this story, and it's still so real and so personal to me that the God of the universe, the creator of the earth, wants to have a relationship personally with you. He wants to love you and teach you and guide you and help you on this journey called life. And it's just amazing. I'm just so blown away and thankful. And I can't hardly talk about it without crying. And everybody who knows me knows that I love to laugh and smile and joke around, but I'm just a big crybaby when I talk about it. And I just want you to know, if you're watching this video, if you're a friend or if you're a stranger that just happened upon it on the internet, I want to let you know that God loves you and He has a plan for your life. That you're not an accident. You're not a throwaway. You're not a nobody. You are loved. God is holy and He is real. And the only way you can have a relationship with Him is through His Son, Jesus. The Bible says that if you confess with your mouth and you believe in your heart that God raised Jesus from the dead, if you confess that, if you believe that you will be saved, that you can enter into this new relationship and have a new life. It's called being born again. It's an experience that you have spiritually when you accept Jesus as your Lord and Savior. If you're out there and you hear this, you hear my words, I'm not a crazy, I'm not a weirdo, I'm not a kook. God is real, and He loves you. If you're thinking about hurting yourself or harming yourself, don't. You can email me, you can find me on Facebook. I will pray with you, I will talk to you, I will share my experiences with you. We're meant to do life together, as friends or family. And God has a plan, and He can change everything. There's always hope. He is real, and He loves you. So don't wait. Don't wait until tomorrow. Don't wait till next week. Don't think that you have to clean yourself up or stop drinking or stop doing drugs or stop sleeping with your best friend's wife or whatever you're involved in. And just come to Jesus. Come to the cross. Tell Him you're sorry. Ask Him to come into your life. He'll give you this gift. It's a free gift. It's called grace. And He extends it to anyone who asks. I'm not going to say that it's easy, because some people have gotten themselves into situations that are going to have long-standing consequences. But God can give you a fresh way to look at these things and to deal with them. Jesus Christ is God. He is real. He loves you. He wants to give you a new life, and He will help you do that, because when you accept Him, His Spirit comes and lives in your heart, and He will speak to you. He will guide you. He loves you. This is the first video, and I felt kind of awkward about it, but I hope that the message is out there and it's true, and you can have real life through Jesus. And friends, if you're out there, I just want to let you know that I love you and that I'm praying for you. And I'm gonna add some other videos out there when I put them together, some actual real sermons that I used to teach when I was running a skateboard ministry in Illinois. and some of the awesome things that God has been doing here in Springfield. Miraculous healings of people, people being set free from drug addictions, marriages being restored. It's amazing what God can do. Being a follower of Jesus or a Christian, it's not about having all of these rules or being super religious. It's this personal relationship with the Creator God, the God of the universe, and it's awesome. And if anybody says that Christians are nerds or geeks or weirdos, it's the farthest thing from the truth. Following Jesus is the most amazing experience I've ever had in my life. I only wish that I had done it sooner instead of waiting until, my mid-30s to do so. And I'm happy to say that both of my children are saved and are followers of Jesus. I'm in this amazing church down here in Springfield called New Life. So if you're here in the Springfield area, please come to New Life Church. It's awesome. You will be loved. Everybody's there. There's like a bunch of people who are heavily tattooed, like me and most of my friends. It's got great music. It's a very accepting, open, loving church. It's real people who really love Jesus, and we get together and we do life together. And once again, my name is Chris Hawk, and I'll be signing off for now. If you have any questions, you can comment on my YouTube account or find me on Facebook. I love you guys. I'm praying for you. There's always hope. Don't give up. Have a good night, and God bless you.